some very important actions supporting the asset-backed market, supporting the corporate bond market, primary and secondary. We're using some of the funds we have, but we need Congress to approve additional funds today so that we can move forward and support American workers and the American economy.
Okay, so let's be sure about this. When I listen to that agenda, and let's say I'm Senator Schumer, I would say, look at that, corporate bonds, private, this, that. How about just workers, 500 and under, small business? What are you going to do?
So we have enormous bipartisan support on most of this bill. I would say all of this bill. And, you know, in particular, the small businesses. Let me be very clear, Jim. We are providing immediate loans to small businesses. We're working with the SBA. We're going to make sure that banks can immediately lend money to companies that are 500 and less that will cover 2 weeks of payroll and some overhead as long as those companies hire back their workers or keep their workers. And at the end of that period, we will forgive those loans entirely. So we want to make sure that small businesses, this represents about 50% of the private economy, keeps workers employed. So when the president is ready to open up this economy again and we've killed this virus, workers are in place, and it's no fault of theirs, they're getting paid.
Okay, so we know some industries have a lot more workers than others. The biggest in the country, 51 million, is retail. What do we do?
Jim, a lot of that retail is small businesses. You know, a lot of small stores in these malls that are closed. All those small businesses will be able to get these loans fast. And large businesses, I expect many of these large businesses will continue to pay workers. And those large businesses that need liquidity will be able to access the facilities that we're setting up with the Federal Reserve.
If you get agreement today, can people get the money tomorrow so they don't lay off people?
I don't know about tomorrow, Jim, but I would say they shouldn't lay people off. And I would say that within the next week, we will have a program up and running that small businesses can go into banks easily in a fast-track basis and get that cash flow. And I can tell you, I already have the IRS working on direct deposits for hardworking Americans, and I expect that that money will be out in the next 2 to 3 weeks in people's checking accounts or savings accounts.
What kind of numbers?
Is a massive amount.
Right. What kind of numbers? And is there a cutoff? If I make 120, do I get anything? If I make 40, do I get anything?
Jim, it's a little bit over $3,000 for a family of 4. There's some mechanisms of phase out and things like that, so this doesn't go to rich people. But this is a massive amount of liquidity. You can think of this as bridge loans to American workers as we set up these other programs. So the president is fully determined. We are using all our tools to pump massive amounts of liquidity, working with the Federal Reserve to support the U.S. economy for an unprecedented situation when the government has shut down major parts of the economy.
You know that savings meaning everything to American workers. Can you change it so they can access their money in 401k, in IRA right now without penalties?
Jim, we have in the legislation a bunch of changes that help both people with 401ks and removing certain rules when people are forced to take money out and other things. So that has huge bipartisan support, and those types of things are in the bill.
Why is there such brinkmanship then? Because it does seem that there's got to be, given the fact that you are so focused on the workers, an agreement. I cannot believe that Speaker Pelosi is against this, and I have a hard time believing that Senator Schumer's against it. You've mentioned workers 6 more times than you've mentioned the corporations.
Jim, I'm on my way up to the Senate now to meet with Mitch McConnell to review exactly where we are with his team and then meet with Senator Schumer. And what I can tell you is we need to get this thing passed today. So we're going to put aside partisan politics. Mitch has done a great job on bringing together everybody. We were there all day yesterday, and what my message is, this needs to get passed today.
Mr. Secretary, how do we create demand? I keep hearing supply for workers. What gets people in the stores, in the restaurants, if we're not allowed to?
Jim, the president is getting great advice from all the medical professionals. He is determined that we will kill this virus. And what I can tell you is, as soon as the president determines that we can reopen this economy, I think you're going to see massive pent-up demand. So long as we keep workers in place so businesses can reopen, when they get the green light. With this type of liquidity, I think you're going to see a big pickup. And let me just comment, this bill is about $2 trillion at this point. But on top of that, it gives us $500 billion that we can leverage with the Federal Reserve for over another $4 trillion. That's $6 trillion in the economy. I've already put another $500 billion in the economy as a result of delaying tax date. So this is a massive amount of liquidity to support American workers and business.
Mr. Secretary? Hello?
Yes, Jim.
Okay.
Yes.
You need congressional approval for this, but I think America would be happy to have it. What?
So I'm sorry. Jim, can you hear me?
Yeah. Can we do you need a congressional approval. Can we do a $500 billion 30-year, a $500 billion 50-year? The American people would consider this to be a war bond. They would do it. They would do it patriotically. We're ready for it. Can you get it?
Jim, we have some technology issues that we're working on to be able to issue 50 and 100-year bonds. So I want to make sure we don't take our eye off what the major issue is here now. We're going to be issuing a lot of 30 years. We've already announced we'll be issuing 20 years. We want to focus on putting money into the economy right now. Fortunately, it's very low interest rates. We will be doing lots of long-term financing to make sure we lock this in at very low cost to the American public.
The word I know from the Fed is no issues with liquidity. They provide liquidity, not a credit crisis. Can you assure us that there'll be plenty of liquidity when this market opens at 8:50? It's 8:56. American people, the workers, want to know. Listen, it's not just our job. Our savings are not going to dissipate or be destroyed.
Jim, we were working with the Fed in an unprecedented fashion. I forget the number of, I think we're up to kind of 10 different approvals. I signed 5 letters last night, 2 of which were modifying existing programs, 3 were new programs. We do have a limited amount of money that we are using before Congress passes this bill, so we're not waiting for Congress. The announcements we made with the Fed this morning are for about $300 billion, and as soon as Congress gives us this authority, we will be increasing those facilities substantially, and we'll be rolling out new facilities. So this is an urgent situation for Congress to pass this, but we are ready, and we are working with the Fed to provide unprecedented liquidity to support American business and American workers.
I know the president wants this deal done. Can he help get it done, and can we get it done this morning?
I hope we can get it done this morning. I've been speaking to the president around the clock. We got off the phone at 12:30 last night, and I'll be calling him shortly.
It sounds to me as if this can get done. What is the one thing the Democrats are saying that you're not giving them, that they won't give in?
Jim, I think we're very close. I'm not going to get into the negotiating issues on the phone, but I'm determined. I know that Mitch McConnell is determined. We need to get this thing done today.